Motherhood is a cornerstone of human civilization, shaping societies and cultures throughout history. From early humans to the modern day, the role of motherhood and the concept of family have undergone significant changes. Today, we'll dive into how perception of motherhood and family size have evolved, the factors that influence these changes, and modern fertility trends. Welcome to the World and Me project with Dr. Yeva Aleksanyan. Please press the like button, subscribe to our channel, leave your comments, and help us spread our videos. Millions of years ago, our early hominid ancestors faced a harsh world where survival depended on a strong bond between mother and child. Maternal instincts were crucial for the survival of these early societies. As Homo sapiens evolved, maternal care became more complex. Mothers played a key role in nurturing and teaching essential survival skills. The development of communal living further strengthened social bonds and cooperative childcare, paving the way for more advanced societies. In early human societies, family size was influenced by survival needs and a nomadic lifestyle. Hunter-gatherer communities formed small family units. These small groups, which was necessary for mobility, generally had fewer children, but children born during hunter-gatherer period had a higher survival rate compared to those born during the agricultural revolution period. Why? The invention of agriculture, known as the Neolithic Revolution, occurred about 10,000 years ago, a truly brief period compared with the hunter-gatherer era that preceded it. Agriculture led to food storage capabilities, property ownership, and the rise of structured societies with priests, rulers, towns, and cities. However, it also introduced new infectious diseases like tuberculosis, smallpox, measles, and other diseases, which came along with challenges in sanitation, germs, and increased malnutrition. Additionally, stored food risked spoilage and became another potential source of disease. Immobile agricultural communities often faced limited food diversity. Trade between communities could offset the monotony of the local menu, but it also brought new diseases. These new diseases, against which local populations had no immunity, could and did cause huge mortality, up to the point of collapse of whole communities and civilizations. Consequently, life expectancy decreased during this transition. Meanwhile, immobility, availability of food, and the prevalence of high infant mortality all contributed to an increase in family size. Women had more children so that at least some of them survived until adulthood. Agricultural economies heavily relied on family labor for farm work and domestic tasks. Therefore, households needed multiple children. This is why large families remained common for thousands of years. But this was until the Industrial Revolution and urbanization. The Industrial Revolution and the shift from agrarian to industrial economies brought about profound changes in family size and structure. The Industrial Revolution started in Western Europe in the late 18th century. This period saw profound changes in economic structures, living conditions, and social norms, all of which had substantial impact on fertility and child survival rates. Urbanization and its industrialization led to migration from rural areas to cities where families faced new challenges and opportunities. The rise of factory work and wage labor reduced the economic necessity of large families for agricultural labor, leading to a decline in family size. Also, increased cost of raising children in urban environment, urban living conditions, coupled with improvements in healthcare and sanitation, contributed to lower infant mortality rates, further impacting family size. So overall, the family size after the Industrial Revolution started to decline. If before Industrial Revolution the fertility rate was about 6 to 8 children per woman, after the Industrial Revolution the number dropped to 3 to 4 children per woman. Fast forward to the modern era, and we see that the family size has generally declined across much of the world. particularly in developed countries. By the mid to late 20th century, many developed countries approached or fell below replacement level, which is considered to be 2.1 children per woman. Meanwhile, the global average in 2000s was approximately 2.5 children per woman. In the modern era, family size has continued to decrease in many parts of the world as a result of many factors. One significant factor contributing to declining fertility rate was the change in child survival rate. In pre-industrial period, child survival rate was relatively low. It was common for families to lose one or more children. In the 19th century, child survival rate began to improve slowly with urban sanitation movements and better understanding of diseases. Public health reforms, such as improved water supply and sewage systems, reduced some disease burdens. Child survival rate in 1800s became close to or slightly below 70% in most regions. In the 20th century, especially post-World War II, child survival rate increased drastically. Introduction of vaccines, antibiotics, better healthcare facilities, increased governmental focus on maternal and child health, as well as improved standards of living all contributed to increased survival rate. By the end of 20th century, child survival rate was over 90% in developed countries. In 2000s, child survival rate in developed countries was over 95%. Developing countries have also made rapid progress in this area. And all this contributed to decline in global fertility rate since women did not need to have more children with the hope that some of them would survive to adulthood. Feminist movements pushed for increased access to contraceptions, women's empowerment, and changes in attitudes towards family planning. This and women's education contributed to declining fertility rates. Greater availability of contraceptive methods allowed people to choose if and when to have children. Meanwhile, as women gained more education and career opportunities, they started delaying childbearing and have less children to focus on personal goals. Other contributors to declining fertility rates have been pension reforms, social security, and other social safety nets. In many countries, pension and social security systems have reduced the reliance on children as a source of support in old age. Therefore, social safety nets reduced one of the traditional incentives for larger families when parents would have few children with the hope that one of them would take care of them at an old age. So overall, increased availability and access to contraception methods, safety nets, rising cost of childcare, increase in children's survival rate, women's higher education attainment, women's labor market participation, improved economic conditions, and the rise of child-centered parenting philosophies all contributed to decline in fertility rate. A Nobel Prize-winning economist, Gary Becker, proposed that parents make a choice between the number of children and the investment per child in terms of education, health, and other forms of human capital. He called it a trade-off between quantity and quality of children. This trade-off is critical in understanding changes in family size and composition over time, especially in response to varying economic and social conditions. So people choose to have less children but invest more in children's education and well-being. Thus, smaller-sized families. While smaller families offer benefits such as greater financial stability, higher investment per child, and flexibility, they also present challenges on a larger scale related to aging population and declining fertility rates. Well, this is about birth and survival of children. But what about pregnancy and change in pregnancy itself over time? Throughout history, women have faced numerous challenges during pregnancy, from the physical demands of childbirth to the social and cultural expectations placed upon expectant mothers. In ancient times, the lack of medical knowledge and access to healthcare posed significant risks to pregnancy and childbirth. Complications were common and maternal mortality rates were high. Social norms often burdened pregnant women with strict expectations around behavior, nutrition, and adherence to specific customs, which varied widely across cultures. Additionally, without modern sanitation and sterile medical practices, postpartum infections were a frequent and dangerous threat, putting both mothers and newborns at risk. Things began to change in the last 2-3 centuries, particularly in the 20th century, as advances in medical science reduced maternal mortality rates and improved prenatal care. The development of antibiotics, anesthesia, and safer surgical techniques revolutionized pregnancy and childbirth. But this is not the only significant achievement in this area. Another achievement in reproductive area was artificial insemination, a technique that involves directly inserting sperm into a woman's uterus or cervix. The first successful artificial insemination was performed on dogs in the 18th century. The technique gained traction in human medicine only in the early 20th century. It is now a common infertility treatment. Parallel to this, research on in vitro fertilization began in the early 1930s. And already in the late 1950s, the first successful in vitro fertilization of rabbit eggs was achieved. The technique culminated in 1978 when Louise Brown, the world's first baby conceived through in vitro fertilization, was born in England. Her birth marked a crucial moment in reproductive medicine, demonstrating this technique's potential to treat infertility. Advances in vitro fertilization also led to surrogacy, where a surrogate carries a pregnancy for intended parents. The practice gained prominence in the late 20th century, with the first legally recognized gestational surrogacy occurring in the United States in the 1980s. This set the stage for surrogacy's global spread and development of legal frameworks and ethical guidelines. These were all great achievements in medicine, but we cannot expect that the development of medicine and technology would stop here, can we? If there is a surrogate woman who can carry a pregnancy for another person or couple, what stops science to attempt inventing a technology that can substitute surrogate women? Nothing. This is exactly the direction that the science is moving toward and developing artificial uterus. The development of the artificial uterus, or ectogenesis, represents one of the most groundbreaking advancements in reproductive technology. An artificial uterus is a device or a system that can support the growth and development of an embryo outside the body of human womb. The concept, which once seemed like science fiction, has seen significant real-world progress over recent years. The technology primarily aims to replicate the conditions of a biological uterus, providing oxygen, nutrients, and the appropriate physical and biochemical environment for a fetus to grow. The idea of ectogenesis has been discussed in theoretical terms for decades, but only saw experimental progress in the late 20th and early 21st century. In recent years, technology has advanced to the point where researchers have successfully grown lamb fetuses in an artificial womb for several weeks. These experiments involve biobags filled with amniotic fluid and connected to machines that facilitate the exchange of nutrients and waste, closely mimicking the natural womb environment. In a few decades, I expect that technology would improve to the point where we would see the first baby born in artificial womb. The artificial uterus could provide not only an alternative for individuals who face challenges with infertility or health risks associated with pregnancy, but also could drastically improve outcomes for premature infants. By providing an environment that mimics the womb, premature babies could continue their development outside the human body, reducing the risks of health complications associated with premature birth. Finally, another technological development in this area that both excites me and frightens me is gene editing. Gene editing has emerged as one of the most groundbreaking advancements in biotechnology. Gene editing technology allows scientists to edit parts of the genome by removing, adding, or altering sections of the DNA sequence. It is considered one of the most significant discoveries in the field of genetics, offering potential cures for genetic disorders and a deep understanding of human biology. The United States allows gene editing in already born individuals for therapeutic purposes under strict guidelines and primarily focuses on correcting or reducing the impact of genetic disorders. The United States does not allow for embryonic gene editing, and researchers have to follow the guidelines. But elsewhere in the world, in China, a researcher ignored all ethical considerations and scientific integrity and edited gene at embryonic level, developing first gene-edited babies. In 2018, the first gene-edited babies, twin girls named Lulu and Nana, were born in China. A Chinese scientist used gene-editing technology to modify the embryo's DNA. This raised a considerable criticism and uproar in the scientific community. Nonetheless, sooner or later, we're going to see children whose genes were edited at embryonic level. Ethical concerns may stop it from doing it in one place, but they won't stop such initiatives everywhere. So only time will show how the face of pregnancy and childbirth will change. This was the World in Me project with Dr. Yeva Aleksanyan. I hope you enjoyed our video. Please press the like button, share our videos, and subscribe to our channel for more videos. I'll see you soon.